We are going to talk about something different. Namely, we are going to focus on festivities. And really, one of the major places where festivities took place is only about 150 meters from here. Namely, the place which is today called At Meydanı, or Horse Square, and which is the Byzantine race course. And I mean, in the Ottoman period, especially in the 16th century, that was the favored place for festivities. And I mean, Sultan Süleyman celebrated the circumcisions of 4 of his sons in this place. I mean, they were there was a big age difference, so one group was circumcised first and the other a couple of years later. He also, I mean, normally Ottoman sultans did not marry, and even if they married, they didn't publicly celebrate their weddings. But Süleyman did that. He celebrated his wedding to Hürrem Sultan, again in this area. And if you look, you can see the 2 lead-covered domes in front of Hagia Sophia. Well, they are the covering of the public baths that were built by Hürrem, who, really was the empress to, if you consider Süleyman the emperor, and I think it makes sense to do so, well, then she was the empress to this emperor. And so she did something that other people would not normally do. The male section of the bath and the women's section of the bath are exactly the same. In many places, the women's section of the bath is less ornamental and smaller, but not when Hürrem was the donor. Well, but we are more concerned with, the At Meydanı, which is, as I said, about 150 meters from here. And after the celebrations of Süleyman's time, a monumental celebration was held here in 1582. And I mean, this was illustrated in a festival book. A festival book is called, in Turkish it's a surname. A sur is a festival, a public rejoicing. And I mean, the palace of Ibrahim Pasha, who was the companion of Süleyman's youth, and for a while something like the Sultan's alter ego, well, he built himself a stone palace with 5 courtyards. Well, one of them has disappeared, but the other 4 are still there. And one of them is today the Museum of Turkish and Islamic Arts, which I hope you will visit before you go. And this place was apparently the site from which Murat III in 1582 watched the festivities. Because, I mean, the practice is different from, let us say, French court festivities. When Louis XIV was young, he prided himself on being a good dancer. And he danced, and he made sure that people saw his handsome legs. But this was not the custom among the Ottomans. The people who produced entertainments produced them for the Sultan. And the Sultan sat like in a theater box, in an open balcony from which he could watch the festivities. Now, we know exactly where all this took place because in all the miniatures we see the 3 columns, monuments of the Spina of late antique times. I mean, there is one, the snake column, which in the 16th century still had all its snake heads. They were later stolen in the 18th century, and one of them was retrieved and is today in the Archaeological Museum. We don't know what happened to the others. But in the 16th century, it still had, the snake column still had all its three heads. And then there is an obelisk, which is real. It has Egyptian lettering on it, and it has a base. One side, the base is from the time of the Emperor Theodosius I, and we can see that on the Ottoman miniatures. I mean, they didn't show us the details of the inscription and of the relief, but it's clear that they knew that there was something there. And then there's the third obelisk, which is also still here. Namely, it was really masonry and covered with copper. But the copper was already gone in the 16th century. So people in the 16th century saw the masonry that we still see today. Well, and what was, there were many events, and as I said, both Ottoman Surname writers described them in detail, but also foreign visitors did the same. Most of them were Venetians. And I mean, some of these things have survived in Venice, but some, in the late 16th century, there were two fires in the Palace of the Doge. So some of this material disappeared, but copies are in Modena, where recently a Turkish woman, professor from the University of Ankara, she discovered these things in Modena and published them. So, I mean, we have a pretty good idea of what happened at that festivity. And the most important thing is that they showed something you might call tableau vivant. I mean, tableau vivant have completely passed out of fashion, but they were quite common in the 18th and 19th centuries. I mean, they were like a society game. People would, pose as if, they were some kind of picture, and then the people who saw them had to guess what kind of picture it was. And these tableaux vivants are kind of a little bit like that, namely on wagons, sometimes pulled by people, sometimes pulled by donkeys or by oxen, sometimes even carried by people. They produced kind of shows which show the activities of various, artisans and merchants.